Okay, so today we start the problem. The function defined t is a function from P to R, that is set of all set of all polynomials of degree up to 2, that is P2 of R. The codomain is set of all 2 by 2 matrix. So how they define a function? The polynomial f of x maps to 2 by 2 matrix. That first entry is f of 0 minus f of 2, and then this end is 0 and this end is 0 and this end is f of 1. So we know f of x. F of x is just a polynomial of degree at the most 2. Therefore, is of the form a0 plus a1x plus a2x square. Okay, this maps to the 2 by 2 matrix. The first end is f of 0, substitute x equal to 0, and then substitute x equal to 2, subtract these two, we'll get a first entry, and then these two entries are fixed 0, and substitute f of 1, you will get. So otherwise, you can directly write. So this is f of x, then what is f of 0? So all the terms are cancelled, only we get a0, because all the terms are contains x. If substitute x equal to 0, all the terms are cancelled. This is f of 0. Now what is f of 2? Substitute x equal to 2, therefore a0 plus 2a1 plus 2 square is 4a2. Now what is f of 0 minus f of 2? So we can cancel this a0. We get minus 2 times a1 minus 4 times a2. So therefore, the matrix f, the function f of t of f of x equal to, now we find the first entry is minus 2a1 minus 4a2. And this end is 0, this end is 0, and this end is f of 1. So what is f of 1? Just a0 plus a1 plus a2. Substitute x equal to 1. So for this entry is a0 plus a1 plus a2. For any polynomial f of x, f of x of the form a0 plus a1x plus a2x square maps to this matrix. Now we can easily show that this is a linear transformation. No need to check, because they already mentioned that it is a linear transformation. Now they ask it is onto. First of all, we can easily eliminate one option. So it is onto or not. So onto means what? If you take any matrix in the codomain, because the codomain is set of a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay. So when we say a function is a onto function, if you take any element in the codomain, there is at least one element from domain which maps to that matrix. Okay. But if you take a matrix, 2 by 2 matrix from the codomain is, suppose I am taking this matrix. So if you take any matrix A here, at least one polynomial f of x or g of x should maps to this matrix, that is onto. So I am specifically take A equal to, I am taking 1 1 somewhere here. So this is 0. So clearly this is a 2 by 2 matrix. Therefore it is an element on M2 of R. It's an element in codomain, but there is no f maps to this, because by the definition this should be 0. This entry and this should be 0. Therefore, but we take the matrix, this entry should be 1. Therefore, there is no polynomial which maps to this particular matrix. Therefore, the function is not onto function. Now, onto means what? If you take any element in the codomain, at least one function maps to, or at least one polynomial should maps to that matrix. But this matrix does not have any pre-image. Therefore, look at the second option. This is onto, but not 1 1. But anyway, it is not onto function. Therefore, the option B is not true. Okay, now what about 1 1? It is 1 1 or not? So how to check is a 1 1? So better you have to find the kernel. So that is a easy method to find a function, check a function is 1 1 or not. So already I mentioned that if t is, suppose t is a linear transformation, if t is 1 1 or 1 to 1, if and only if the kernel or null space, okay, kernel of this t should be singleton 0. The or null space n of t, usually we call n of t, but the standard notation is kernel of t. Okay, so the n of t is contained singleton 0, then t is 1 1. If t is 1 1, then n of t is singleton 0. So this is another definition for a function is 1 1 in the linear transform in the vector space. Okay, so proving a function is 1 1, it is enough to show that the null space contains only 0 element. Now we have to find what is the null space. Okay, n of t. So we have to prove that n of t contains, if n of t contains only the 0 polynomial, then the function is 1 1 function. Now we have to find what is the null space, n of t. So by the definition, n of t is nothing but set of all polynomials from domain P2 of R such that is mapped to 0. That is f of t of f of x should be 0. But here 0 means what? Actually 0 polynomial, because codomain is 0 matrix. Okay, so this is equal to So here we don't know what is f of x, therefore we take general f of x, a naught plus a1x plus a2 x square. Okay. Now what is t of x? By the definition, this is f of 0. Directly I can write this is actually this one, right? So f of 0 minus f of 2 is nothing but 2 times minus 2 times a1 minus 4 times a2, 0, here 0, and here a naught plus a1 plus a2 should be 0 matrix. 0 means here 0 matrix, therefore 0, 0, 0, 0. So set of all matrix polynomials a naught, a1 x, a2 x square such that they satisfy this condition. That means what? Two matrices are equal means what? The corresponding entries are equal. That is the first entry minus 2a1 minus 4a2 should be 0. And then the last entry only contains the unknowns, all others are 0. Okay, the next one is a naught plus a1 plus a2 equal to 0. Now we get two equation. Okay, now we have to call this equation is 1 and this equation is 2. Okay, now we try to check this a naught, a1, a2 is everything 0 or not. If everything 0, we get only 0 polynomial. If at least one of the a is non-zero, then this n of t contains some non-zero element. Okay, now using this condition, we have to solve these two equation. We have to find the values of a naught, a1, a2. If all a naught, a1, a2 is 0, now substitute values here. This is 0, this is 0, this is 0 means we get only 0 polynomial. Therefore, it's 1, 1. Okay, suppose at least one of the a's is non-zero, then this is not 1, 1. Okay. Okay, now from the first equation, we have to multiply or we have to divide minus 2, we get directly can write a1 plus 2a2 equal to 0 because we can cancel minus 2 both sides. Therefore, from this we can say a1 equal to minus 2 times a2. So there is a relation between a1 and a2. Okay. Now, what about this second equation? From the second equation, substitute this a1 value, we get a naught. a1 is minus 2 times a2 plus a2 equal to 0. Now we can, this is minus 2 a2, this is plus a2, therefore we get a naught minus a2 equal to 0. That is a naught equal to a2. So there is a relation between a naught and a2. Okay. Now here a1 equal to minus 2 times a2, this is a naught equal to a2. Now substitute the values here. So a naught is a2, I can write here, plus a1, instead of a1, I can write minus 2 times a2 times x, and then we keep a2, therefore a2 x square. So if we take any value, therefore we can take again such that, okay, don't bother about this a2 should be in any real number. Okay, because we have only one unknowns, namely a2. Now we can take a2 outside, we get 1 minus 2x plus x square. Okay, such that a2 in any r. So if you take any a2, this polynomial always maps to 0. So if you specifically take a1, a2 equal to some value, suppose I am taking a2 equal to 1. Okay, suppose let a2 equal to 1, then definitely I call the function polynomial g of x equal to, substitute a2 equal to 2, we get 1 minus 2x plus x square, right? Now, what is g of 0 is, substitute x equal to 0, we get 1. What is g of 2 is 1 minus, this is 2 into 2, 4 plus 4. Okay, that is nothing but 1. But in the matrix, what is the corresponding t of g of x? G of 0 minus g of 2, this 1 minus 1 is 0, we get 0. But already by the definition, these two entries are 0. Now this should be g of 1. What is g of 1? If substitute x equal to 1, 1 minus 2 plus 1. So 1 plus 1, 2, 2 minus 1, 0. So we get 0. Therefore, there is some non-zero polynomial which maps to 0. Therefore, this function is not 1. 1, 1 means what? Only 0 polynomial maps to 0. But here we get a non-zero polynomial which maps to 0. Not only if we take a1 equal to 1, we get at least one polynomial. If we take a2 equal to some other value or 2 or something, again we get some polynomial. That polynomial also maps to 0. Therefore, the kernel or the null space contains non-zero polynomial, not a 0 polynomial. Therefore, this is not 1, 1. Therefore, first option is also false, second option also false. Okay. Now look at the last option. They say the null space span these two polynomial. So this is not true, because now we say that this null space spanned this polynomial, namely 1 minus x 1 minus 2x plus x square, because this null space is spanned by only this polynomial, 1 minus 2x plus x square. Therefore, the last option also false. Now look at the third one. The range space contains this. So that means what? Linear combination of these two. So if I did any mistake, please correct me. Okay. Okay. Now we have to check the range space contains spanned these matrices are. So that means what? If you take any element in the range space, is linear combination. We can write is a linear combination of these two matrices. This contains. Okay, can we write this null space is spanned with these two polynomial? We have to check, because that is alpha times some x square minus 2x plus beta times 1 minus x. Take any element in the null space. Can we write this is a linear combination of these two? So already we know that one of the element is one of the polynomial is this, right? Because the null space is spanned by every element is of the form a2 into 1 minus 2x plus x square. Specifically take alpha that a2 equal to 1, we get this one. So choose alpha beta such that the linear combination equal to 1. So what is the possible? Because since here alpha x square is there, therefore we can take alpha should be 1. That is the only possible, right? So therefore x square minus 2x here, if you take alpha equal to 1, but so therefore we get alpha x 2 minus x square x plus x square we get. So only thing we have to get 1. Therefore what we have to choose beta. If we choose beta equal to 1, we get 1 minus x. We get extra term is minus x is there. Therefore we cannot write this is a product is a linear combination of these two polynomial x square minus 2x 1 minus x. Okay, so maybe I will check this condition. So this is actually f of 0 minus f of 2. Therefore, I think this is correct. This is 0, 0. Okay, this is f of 1. So f of 1 is equal to 0. Therefore, we get a 2 equation. This is equal to 0. Okay, and this is equal to 0. From this, we can get a1 equal to minus a2 is okay. Okay, from this substitute a1 value here, we get. Okay, this is okay. Now substitute everything. A2 equal to a0 equal to a2, a1 equal to minus 2a2. A2 is this. You can take a2 outside. Okay, good. So only this polynomial spanned n of t, not two polynomial. Okay. So therefore, by rank nullity, now what is the dimension of n of t? Only one polynomial generate n of t. Therefore, what is the nullity? Nullity contains 1. Nullity is 1 because the null space contains generated by only one polynomial. Therefore, the null space, the nullity is 1. By rank nullity theorem, so nullity is 1 plus rank of t equal to dimension of the domain. So since the basis is from the basis of the domain is 1x x square, therefore 3. Therefore rank should be 2. Therefore rank should be 2 means what? The range space spanned by two matrices. Yes, the dimension is 2. Rank is 2. Therefore range contains only spanned by two matrices. Now we can take this one. So we can easily show that I think these two matrices spanned by the entire space. Okay, we can remove all other options and get this. We can issue any matrix in the range space. We can write is a linear combination of these two bases, these two matrices. That is alpha times this plus beta times this. Then we can write it. Okay. Now look at this problem. So they define function t from R2 to R2, and they define there are two different bases. The domain in the domain they give one basis, B1 is a one basis that is contains 1, 2, 2, minus 1. The codomain they give the standard basis that is 1, 0, 0, 1 is the standard basis. Now they given that with respect to this basis, this is a matrix representation of this linear transform, that is T of the B1 from the domain, B2 is the codomain basis, we get the matrix representation is 4, 3, 2, minus 4. So this is a matrix representation of the linear transformation T. So that means what? This T of the first standard basis, the first element in the basis element 1, 2 is maps to 4, 2 actually. That means what? 4 into the standard basis. So that is 4 times 1, 0 plus 2 times 0, 1. Because that only we can take the coefficient, we form the matrix. And then the next basis element is 2, minus 1. The coefficient is 3 and minus 4. Therefore, 3 times 1, 0 plus 4 minus 4 times 0, 1. Okay, so we pick this coefficient and then form the matrix. That is the usual way, right? Therefore, simply I can say this T of 1, 2 actually maps to, I multiply 4 inside and the sum, we get just 4, 2. Therefore, T of 1, 2 maps to 4, 2, and T of 2, minus 1 maps to 3, minus 4. Okay. Now what they are asking, what is the value of T of 5, 5? First we have to write 5, 5 can be written as a linear combination of elements of the base element from the domain. So that is alpha times, we don't know what is alpha, alpha times 1, 2 plus beta times 2, minus 1. We have to find what is the alpha beta. Okay, I'm directly right. So if you take alpha equal to 3, so otherwise how to find this alpha beta? Just you got to multiply as alpha. So we get alpha, 2 alpha. You multiply beta inside, therefore 2 beta minus beta. So now sum these two, we get alpha plus 2 beta, and then the second coordinate 2 alpha minus beta. This is equal to 5, 5. Now compare the coordinates, we get first coordinate is alpha plus 2 beta equal to 5. From the second, we get a rho alpha minus beta equal to 5. Now we got to solve these two equations, find the values of alpha beta. Now we call this first equation and this is second equation. Okay, multiply the first equation or second equation, anything. So suppose I take second equation, multiply by 2. What you will get? 4 alpha minus 2 beta equal to 10. Okay, and then keep the first equation. So that is alpha plus 2 beta equal to 5. So just to add, we get 5 alpha. We can cancel this 2 alpha plus 2 alpha, 2 beta cancel, and this is equal to 15. Therefore, alpha equal to 3. Now we find that alpha value is 3. Now substitute alpha values to the first equation or the second equation. Okay, suppose I take substitute the second equation. Therefore, 2 times alpha is 6 minus beta equal to 5. Take this beta this side and then take 5 this side. We get beta equal to 1. Therefore, alpha equal to 3. So I am directly right. Therefore, this 5, 5 can be written as linear combination of the basis element 1, 2, and 2 is 3 times 1, 2, and then 1 times 2, minus 1. So this is the answer. Now we have to find the T of 5, 5. T is a linear transformation. Now apply T both the side. What you will get? So T of 5, 5 equal to, since this 3 is a scalar, we know the T of alpha times V equal to alpha times T of V. You can take scalar outside, therefore 3 times T of 1, 2. Again plus 1 into T of 2, minus 1. This is equal to 3 times, what is T of 1, 2? We know just now 4, 2. Plus 1 into, what is the value of T of 2, minus 1 is 3, minus 4. 3, minus 4. Now simplify these, we get the answer. So multiply 3 inside, we get 12, 6. So this is equal to 12, 6 plus here 3, minus 4. Now just add 12 plus 3 is 15. 6 minus 4 is 2. Therefore, the value T of 5, 5 is 15, 2. That is last option. Okay. So just you have to find out what is the basis elements maps to. Okay, once you find that, you can easily find the values of others. Okay. Now look at this question. If the set contains 3 matrices, the first one is x minus 1, 0, 0 minus 1, x, and then the last one is 1 minus 1, 1x. So what is the question? Suppose this is linearly dependent in the vector space of all 2 by 2 matrices, then what is the values of x? If the set is linearly dependent, then what is the values of x? Okay. Suppose we take the linear combination of these two matrices, that is alpha times the first matrix x minus 1 0 plus beta times 0 minus 1 x x, and then gamma times 1 minus 1 1 0. So we take the the vector equation. This is equal to 0 0 matrix. Now, if all alpha, beta, gammas are 0, then these three matrices are linearly dependent. But we need this set, these matrices are linearly dependent. Therefore, at least one of alpha or beta or gamma should be non-zero. If all are 0, it's linearly independent. If at least one alpha i's are non-zero, then it's linearly dependent. So it is given that it's linearly dependent. Therefore, at least one of alpha or beta or gamma should be non-zero. Now, just to simplify, just to multiply this alpha inside, we get the matrix. You have to multiply alpha each entry. Therefore, alpha times x minus alpha times x minus alpha 0. Now, we multiply beta inside, we get 0 minus beta, beta x minus, okay. Yeah, this is beta x. And multiply gamma inside, we get gamma minus gamma, gamma 0. This is equal to 0 0 matrix. Now we can add these matrices, we get term by term, we get addition. Okay, so that is okay. First one is here alpha x is there, but the second matrix is 0, and then but third matrix contains gamma. Therefore, the first entry is alpha x plus gamma. Now this entry is minus alpha x minus beta minus gamma. Now this entry is minus alpha plus beta x plus gamma. Now this entry is beta x, only beta x. So this is equal to 0 0 0. Now these two matrices are equal, therefore you can compare the position. Therefore, the first position alpha x plus gamma should be equal to 0. That is alpha x plus gamma equal to 0. Now from these, what you will get? Minus alpha x minus beta minus gamma equal to 0. Now compare this equal to 0, therefore you get minus alpha plus beta x plus gamma equal to 0. Now the last one is beta x equal to 0. Now beta x equal to 0, therefore at either beta equal to 0 or x equal to 0. Okay, correct? So if either, but it is given, okay. Now suppose now beta x equal to 0, okay, take this one, beta x equal to 0. Now substitute beta x equal to 0 into this equation, the beta x equal to 0, therefore what will get? Alpha equal to gamma. Okay, alpha equal to gamma. If substitute b, suppose beta x equal to 0, we know that either beta equal to 0 or gamma x equal to 0, we don't know, but the product is 0. Therefore substitute here, what you will get? There is a relation between alpha and beta is, alpha and gamma is alpha equal to gamma. Okay, so alpha equal to gamma. Now substitute alpha equal to gamma into the first equation. Now you can take alpha or gamma equal to alpha, you can take alpha outside, alpha times 1 plus x equal to 0. Correct? So just to substitute this value to here, you're replacing gamma by alpha, you can take alpha outside, we get 1 alpha times 1 plus x equal to 0. So again, product of two numbers equal to 0, then one of the numbers should be 0. Either alpha equal to 0 or 1 plus x equal to 0. Okay. Suppose in the case, if we come to this case, if beta into x equal to 0, either beta equal to 0 or x equal to 0. Suppose x equal to 0. Suppose x equal to 0. Okay. Now substitute here. 1 plus 0 is 1, just we get alpha equal to 0. Once we alpha equal to 0, here we get gamma equal to 0. So once gamma, alpha beta gamma 0, alpha gamma 0. Now look at this equation, substitute alpha 0, beta 0, we get gamma 0. Therefore, alpha beta gamma 0, we get linearly independent, but they should be linearly dependent. Therefore, definitely alpha not equal to, x not equal to 0. If x equal to 0, we get alpha 0, beta 0, gamma 0, we get linearly independent. But it's given that the set is linearly independent set. Okay, therefore, one of the alpha or beta or gamma should be non-zero. Okay, therefore, in this case, definitely x not equal to 0. Okay, maybe beta may be 0. Now, look at this relation. alpha times 1 into x equal to 0. Either alpha equal to 0 or 1 plus x equal to 0. If alpha is 0, now substitute here gamma is 0. Now alpha gamma 0, now beta is 0. Therefore, alpha cannot be 0. Therefore, this 1 plus x should be 0. Therefore, x should be equal to minus 1. If you take x equal to minus 1, now we take alpha is anything. Okay, we get a linearly dependent. Okay, so for what values for they asking then x equal to minus 1, then this linearly dependent. If you take any other value, then we get this set is linearly independent. Okay, any doubt in this? Okay, so just you have to use the definition. So take the linear combination and then we get a system of equation. You find the values of alpha, beta, gamma. Okay. Now look at this problem. Let M2 of R be the set of a 2 by 2 matrix, and V the subspace of this defined by we are collecting the matrix A satisfied this property. Then what is the dimension of V? Now actually V is a 2 by, we are collecting the 2 by 2 matrix. So V is nothing but set of a 2 by 2 matrix. We take A, B, C, D. So there are 4 unknowns. We try to reduce the unknowns using this condition. So what is the condition they said? A, B. So A into A, B, C, D into this matrix 0, 2, 3, 1 equal to 0, 2, 3, 1 times ABCD. Now multiply this matrix, what you'll get? This time 3B, and this is 2A plus B, and here we get 3D, and here we get 2C plus D. 2C plus D equal to this side we get 0, 2C, and 0, 2D, and here 3A plus C, and here 3B plus D. Now compare this equation. We get 3B equal to 2C. Okay, from this first equation. Therefore, we can write B in terms of C. Therefore, B equal to 2 by 3 C. Now we can rewrite this B. Now, okay, now I can here write. So this is equal to set of all. Now I can fix. I am fixing C. Now B is nothing but 2 by C, 2 by 3 C. Now I eliminate B. Okay. Now what about these two condition? Now take anything. What we got to take? The last equation. We can anyway compare all these things. So for these two position, what you'll get 2C plus D equal to 3B plus D. Am I correct? Yeah, again, if you cancel D, we get same thing. 3B already we did this one. Okay, don't take this one. So the next one is 3D, this one and this one. 3D equal to 3A plus C. This is one equation. And the another equation is 2A plus B equal to 2D. Okay, now we try to solve this one. Okay, now this is 2A plus B equal to 2D. Now third equation is 3A plus C. C is nothing but 3 by 2B. Now substitute here. 3 by 2B equal to 3D. We try to we solve this equation, right? We have to eliminate A. So therefore multiply this equation by 3, this equation by 2, we get 6A. Okay, we multiply the first equation by 3. Therefore, we get 3B equal to 6D. You have to multiply this equation by 2. Therefore, 2 times is 6A. And 2 to cancel, we get 3B. This is equal to 2 times this is 6D. Okay. So, maybe we get the same thing, right? Therefore, better we take single equation. So, that is 6 times A plus 3B equal to 6D. Right? We can cancel 1, 3. Therefore, we get 3 times A plus B equal to 3D. Therefore, you can keep B equal to 3D minus 3A. Now, okay, already we wrote this thing, right? Okay, therefore we cannot eliminate other variable. Therefore, this should be a, and can be written as this d is nothing but we can keep d. Okay, now we eliminate d. So 3a plus b equal to 3d. Therefore, d equal to, we can divide by 3. From this, we get d equal to a plus 1 by 3 b. Again, substitute b value. B is nothing but 2 by 3c. Therefore, this is equal to a plus 2 by 9c. Therefore, this d value I can write a plus 2 by 9c. Now we have only two unknowns, namely a and c. A and c is the only two unknowns. But we start with the four unknowns. Now we eliminate two unknowns using the condition. Therefore, we get only two unknowns. Therefore, the dimension is 2. The number of unknowns is the dimension. So, therefore, dimension is 2. So, any doubt? Just simply we got to solve the equation. Okay, now look at this problem. Let P and Q be two real matrices of size 4 by 6 and then 5 by 4. So the matrix P is 4 by 6 matrix and the Q is 5 by 4. We cannot define PQ because the number of columns and the number of rows is not equal, but we can define QP. So what is QP? We can cancel 5, therefore 5 cross 6 matrix. So QP is the 5 cross 6 matrix. And then it is given that rank of Q should be 4 and then rank of PQ is equal to 2. And we know the formula rank of product of two matrices. So rank of AB is less than or equal to minimum of rank of Q comma rank of P. Okay, less than or equal to. Okay, we cannot say exactly equal to. Okay, but it is given that in the problem rank of QP is 2. It is given. So this is 2 is given is less than or equal to minimum of rank of Q is also given, it is 4. Therefore 4 comma, but we don't know what is the value of this, but we keep rank of P. But definitely okay, now we know the upper bound for this one. Okay, now anyway we know the lower limit, we know the general formula. So what is that? Rank of P minus rank plus rank of Q minus the common factor. What is the common factor of this product? 4, because this is a 4 and these are 4, right? Therefore that common rows number and less than or equal to rank of QP. So this is a general formula, we know this. So minimum of rank of Q comma rank of P. Okay, and it's given that we don't know value of rank of P, therefore keep rank of P plus this value is 4 minus 4 less than or equal to, it is given that this value is 2. Okay, this is less than or equal to minimum of this value is 4 and we don't know the rank of P. We have to find the rank of P. Now therefore we can cancel 4, therefore rank of P is less than or equal to 2. Okay, and this is less than or equal to, and we know that minimum of 4 comma 2 is less than 2. Therefore definitely that R of P should be less than greater than or equal to 2 or less than or equal to 2. The minimum of these two number is bigger than 2. Okay, this is bigger than 2. Now we get this bigger than 2. Anyway 4 is bigger than 2, therefore this rank of P also bigger than or equal to 2. Therefore this is bigger than or equal to 2. Therefore we get rank of P less than or equal to greater than or equal to 2P. Therefore rank of P should be 2. Okay, therefore answer is 2. The rank of P is 2. Now this formula is very important. Rank of P plus rank of Q minus the number. What is the number? Is the common number when we get a product. So because Q is a 5 by 4 and P is a 4 by 6. So when we product PQ, what is the common number? 4. We have to subtract that number. And then we get the lower bound upper bound, we get exactly equal to 2. Okay. Any doubt? Okay. Now look at this problem. Maybe we come later this problem because we have to do work something. Okay. Now look at this 11th problem. It is very simple. So we have to find the dimension. So we start with three coordinates unknown x, y, z. Now it is given the three equation. Okay. So we have to solve these three equation. We try to eliminate the unknowns. There are three unknowns. We try to eliminate the unknowns using this condition three equation. Now just you have to solve this and then find the value x in terms of some other variable. You will get a answer. For example, look at this last two equation. Now keep the first equation 2x plus 2y plus z equal to 0. Now multiply 2 to the last equation, we get 2x plus 2y minus 6z equal to 0. Now subtract these two equation minus minus minus. So we get these two cancel and this is plus. Therefore we get 7z equal to 0. Therefore z should be 0. Now we found that we reduce one variable. This is nothing but 0. Now we have only two unknowns x, y. Now try to eliminate some other variable now. So substitute z to this equation, we get 0 and substitute z equal to 0 in this equation and z equal to 0 this. Anyway, we get a relation that x plus y equal to 0. If substitute in the first equation z equal to 0, we get x, we can cancel 2 because equal to 0, right? Therefore x plus y equal to 0. Even if we take this equation, we can cancel 3, we get x plus y equal to 0. The last equation also we get x plus y equal to 0. Therefore x plus y equal to 0. Therefore y equal to, we can take minus x. Therefore now we replace minus instead of y we can take minus x. Therefore the variable is x minus x comma 0. So therefore we have only one vector. We can take x outside, we get 1 comma minus 1 comma 0. So only one vector is enough to represent the subspace. Therefore the dimension is 1. Okay, this is a simple thing. Okay, now look at the 12th problem. It is given that the P is a 4 by 4 matrix whose determinant is 4. Sorry, determinant is 10. Then what is the determinant of minus 3P? So we know the formula. Determinant of some k times k is any number. K times a matrix is nothing but, if k is a n by n matrix, then k power n times the determinant of A. Now here determinant of minus 3P. Here k value is minus 3. Therefore you can take minus 3 outside. We get minus 3 power 4 times determinant of P. So minus 3 power 4 is minus power 4 is plus. Therefore 3 power 4 is 81 into determinant of P is given that 10. Therefore it is 110. 8110. Sorry, 810. So this is the answer. So just use the properties of determinant. So determinant of k times A equal to k power n into determinant of A. This n is the order of the matrix. Here order is 4 by 4 matrix because 4 is P is a 4 by 4 matrix. Therefore minus 3 power 4 into determinant of P. Okay, again we have to discuss some relation. We have to discuss about diagonal matrix, all the things. So we will come later this problem. Okay, so we have to study what is diagonalizable, all other things. Again, this is also, we easily can solve this one. Okay, they define the map for a basis. So v1, v2, v3 is a basis, and they define the linear transformation. This one. Now we can easily form a. Now what is the question? Find the matrix of T with respect to domain and codomain have this basis. Now what we have to do? We have to find what is the T of this value, and then what is the T of this value, and what is the T of this value. And already we know that this. So maybe I will give some idea how to find the matrix for this one. So already they defined what is T of T1, T of V2, T of V3. Now we have to find the linear matrix, find the matrix of linear transformation with respect to this basis. Now first we have to find the T of the first basis element V1 plus V2. Now since T is a linear transformation, therefore this is T of V1 plus T of V2. And then they already defined what is the T of V1 value is V1, T of V2 is V2 minus V3. Okay. Now this final answer we have to rewrite as a linear combination of these three vectors, V1 plus V2, V1 minus V2, V3. We can write 1 times V1 plus V2 and there is no V2 minus V1 minus, therefore 0 times V1 minus V2. V3 is there, therefore minus 1 times V3. Okay. Now look at the second basis element, T of V1 minus V2. So this is equal to, by the, since T is a linear transformation, therefore T of V1 minus T of V2. What is T of V1? T of V1 is V1 minus T of V2 is we got to V2 minus V3. So this is nothing but if V1 minus V2 plus V3. Now again we have to write this is a linear combination of the given basis element. There is no V1 plus V2, therefore 0 times V1 plus V2. But V1 minus V2 is there, plus 1 times V1 minus V2 plus 1 times V3. Okay, now final, next we have to T of V3. So the last basis element, T of V3. But T of V3, they define V2 plus 2V3. But we can write V2. We need V2 means what? We need at least V1 or something. So we can add and subtract something, V1 or V2. Okay. So now adding again. So V2 is there, but V2 can be written as this thing. Okay. This minus this, or okay, what we have to do? We have to add something. Okay, V3 is not a problem. We have 2 times V3. It's not an issue because V3 not appear in the first two vectors. Therefore, it's not an issue. But V2, single V2 is there. We got to add and subtract some number so that, so suppose I am adding, suppose I am subtracting V1, adding V1 because it will not change. Okay. Again, but still we have one more V1. So what we have to do? Am I correct? This is 2 times V3. Okay. Oh, sorry. I think I don't know what is this. I just erased this. Oh, this V2. Correct. Yeah. V2 plus 2 times V3. Now, what is the? So anyway, that means this can be written as alpha times V1 plus V2 plus beta times V1 minus V2 plus gamma times V3. But directly we can say gamma equal to 2. It's not an issue. Okay. So only thing we have to take these two. So that is we have multiplied inside, we get alpha plus beta times V1. And then for V2, we take V2 outside, we get alpha minus beta times V2 equal to, better take V2. Therefore, we can compare the coefficient. Therefore, alpha plus beta should be, there is no V1 this side, therefore 0. And alpha minus beta should be 1. Okay, therefore, you can simplify these two equations, just add these, we get 2 alpha equal to 1, alpha equal to 1 by 2. Okay, if we take alpha equal to 1 by 2, and then substitute alpha equal to 1 by 2, we get beta value is minus 1 by 2. Okay, now we get idea. Therefore, this can be written as this V2 can be written as alpha 1 by 2 times V1 plus V2 minus 1 by 2 times V1 minus V2 plus 2 times V3. Now, if you simplify, you will get the answer. Okay. So just multiply 1 by 2 and then add, we'll get this minus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 V1. V1 is cancelled and V2 is 1 by 2 V2, 1 by 2 V2, we get 1 V2. Okay, good. Now we can write everything. Now we form a matrix. So from the first one, what is the coefficient? 1, 0, minus 1. 1, 0, minus 1. So usually they take column wise, but depending upon answer, we can write. So 1, 0, minus 1. So this one is 0, 1, 1. The last one is 1 by 2, minus 1 by 2, 2. So this is the answer. Or sometimes they will take the column wise. Okay, either this one or they take the transpose. This is the answer. Okay, some authors use this, they rate the coefficient as a row wise. First row wise, or some authors use the column wise. So better use the this one to write the coefficient as a column wise. Okay. So this is a matrix of this with respect to this basis. So similarly, you got to prove that this we have to prove there is an alpha. Okay. So how to what is the question? Let us suppose W is a three-dimensional vector space, and S is a linear transformation from WT3 W3. Further, assume that every non-zero vector alpha non-zero vector is an eigenvector of S. Then prove that there is an alpha in R such that S equal to alpha times I. So if we take any linear transformation from R, because W is a three-dimensional vector space over R3, already we know that therefore W should be isomorphic to R3. Any three-dimensional vector space over R is nothing but we can view it as a R3. So this S is a function from actually is a function from R3 to R3. And then if you take any non-zero vector is an eigenvector of S. Then we have to prove that that X should be scalar transformation, that is alpha times I. Anyway, we have to work something for this one. So that means what? S times V equal to, suppose if it is, there is some eigen vector V. SV equal to lambda V for all V. For all V non-zero is an eigenvector. For some corresponding, we have some eigen value. So we can, from this we can conclude that S should be some lambda times I. Lambda is here, they take alpha, that's it. So it should be a scalar transformation. Okay, anyway, we will solve this problem later. And the 19th is already solved. And this one only we got to study some about the diagonalizable matrix and all. So after this, we will solve this problem. Okay, this one also. This thing. So maybe this also you can easily. So this matrix, look at this. This is a special type of matrices. So here we have a identity matrix, and the first row is 0, 0, 0, and here we have a sum. So this is a companion matrix of the polynomial. Okay. So they given that alpha, beta, gamma are the eigenvalues of the matrix, but this is a companion matrix. Therefore, we can easily say what is the characteristic polynomial. So this is a 4 by 4 matrix, right? Therefore, x power 4. So x power 4, this is a 4 by 4 matrix. Therefore, the companion matrix is, the leading term is 1, x power 4. And this is a constant term. This is the next term. So this is minus 2 times x cube. And the next one is 1. Therefore, here minus x square. And here minus 2. Therefore, plus 2x. And there is no constant term. Therefore, 0. So this is a characteristic polynomial of the given matrix. Now, you can take x outside, because this term is the 0, therefore you can take x outside. We get x cube minus 2x plus x plus 2. Therefore x is a 1, x equal to 0 is a 1 root. If substitute x equal to 0, we get 0. Therefore 0 is a 1 eigenvalue. Now we have to find the roots of this remaining cube third degree polynomial. So what is the root? If substitute x equal to 1, what will get? 1 minus 2 plus 1 plus 2. 2 to cancel. Okay. No, 1 is not a root, right? So what is the root of this cubic polynomial? So already there are 4 roots. We found that 0 is a 1 root. Now we have remaining the x cube minus, oh sorry, this is actually minus, right? Sorry, because minus x square, from this I take x, therefore this should be minus x. Now x equal to 1 is a root. Now is the synthetic division, x cube coefficient, this is x square, right? So this is minus 2 and minus 1, 2. Now we guess that 1 is a root of this cubic polynomial. Therefore, this is 1. 1 into 1 is 1. Sum these two, we get minus 1. 1 into minus 1 is minus 1. Minus 1 minus 1 is minus 2. 1 into minus 2 is minus 2. Sum is 0. Now, therefore, we get a quadratic polynomial, x square minus x minus 2. Okay. Now, so we found that one more eigenvalue, so root is 1. Now, 2 more roots are there. You have to solve this one. Okay. Now, what are the roots for this one? If substitute x equal to minus 1, what will happen? Minus 1 square is 1, minus minus 1 plus 1, minus 2. We get 0. Therefore, minus 1 is a one of the root. What about the other root? 1 or minus 1. Is it correct? I am writing right. Minus 1 plus 2, 2 cancel. Okay, yeah. Minus 1 is a root of this polynomial. What about the other root?
2, sir.
2. Now, these are the eigenvalues. So now we find the alpha, beta, gamma value, delta. So maybe we can take alpha equal to this, beta equal to this, gamma equal to this, delta equal to this. Now what they are asking? Just square and then sum. Therefore, alpha square 0, 1 square 1, gamma square is 1, delta square is 4. So therefore, we get 6. So answer is 6. Okay, so first this matrix is a simple matrix. So it's a companion matrix. Therefore, directly we can write the characteristic polynomial and then find the roots of the characteristic polynomial. We get the eigenvalues. So they asking square sum, just square each eigenvalue and then sum it. That's it. Any doubt in this?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is a very simple. So whatever problem given, you try to connect with the eigenvalues and then the rank nullity theorem, all the things. So this they will asking a problem related to the eigenvalues, all the things. Okay, this matrix. So suppose they given in this problem, suppose they given v1 equal to this, v2 equal to this, and then the matrix whose columns are v1, v2, 2v1, v2. So that means what? It's a 4x4 matrix. So therefore, m. Sorry, 3x4 matrix. So m is the first column is v1. So that is 1, 1, 0. Now let's say that the second column is v2. Therefore, v2 is nothing but 0, 1, 1. Now the third column is 2v1 minus v2. That is, we have to multiply 2 and then subtract this. Therefore, 2 to 0 minus 0 minus 1 minus 1. Therefore, we get 2, 1 minus 1. So that is the third column. 2, 1 minus 1. Now the last column is, we have to multiply by 2 here and then sum. Therefore, multiply 2, sum is 1, 2 is 3 and then 2. So this is a matrix. This is a 3x4 matrix. Okay. Now what this is, the number of linearly independent solutions of the homogeneous system of equation mx equal to 0. Okay. How many linearly independent solutions? So you have to you have to find the you have to reduce the row echelon form and then find the row space. Okay. So find the row space and then find the dimension of the row space. Okay. That is actually even is nothing but the rank of the matrix they ask you. So actually solution is what? So maybe even you can say, sorry. So what they asking? Suppose we know that the null space of M is nothing but set of all x such that mx equal to 0. Okay, so this is, we know that null space. So number of linearly independent solution means what? They asking the subspace, what is the dimension? So we know how to find the dimension of this. So how to find the dimension of this? Using rank nullity theorem. Since M is a 3x4 matrix, therefore M is a function from R4 to R3. It's a 3x4, therefore it's a function from R4 to R3. By rank nullity theorem, 4 equal to rank of M plus nullity of M. Okay. Just you reduce this matrix into row echelon form, you can easily find the rank. So just subtract from 4, you get the null space of M. So null space of M contains solution of this equation. They are asking that one. Okay, so dimension nothing but maximum linearly independent set. Okay, because dimension is nothing but basis. The dimension number of elements are basis, but we know that basis is nothing but maximum linearly independent set. So therefore, this equation, so the number of linearly independent solutions of this homogeneous equation nothing but the dimension of the null space. So how to find the dimension of null space? First you use the rank nullity theorem. First you find the rank, subtract from 4, we get a null space. Yes, okay, maybe I will solve this. Okay, now what is the rank of M? So you have to reduce this into row reduced echelon form so that we can easily find the rank. So therefore, the first entry is not a problem. Now this entry we have to make 0. Therefore, subtract. We keep the first row 1, 0, 2, 1. Now subtract this minus this 1 minus 1, 2. and then third row you have to keep. Okay, now look at the last two rows, both are same. Therefore, we can subtract and then we can make 0. Now, therefore, there are two linearly independent rows. Therefore, rank of M is 2. By rank nullity theorem, the null space, the nullity is 2. Because 4 minus 2 is 2. Therefore, answer is 2. There are two linearly independent solutions of this equation. Mx equal to 0. Okay, any doubt in this? So first understand what is the question. They are asking the solutions of Mx equal to 0, the linearly independent solutions. But we know that it is nothing but null space. Null space is nothing but set of all x such that it takes to 0. Because M can be viewed as a linear transformation. Every matrix can be viewed as a linear transformation. So the Mx solutions of Mx equal to 0 is nothing but is a null space. So they are asking linearly independent solution means what? They are asking the dimension of the null space. Because dimension is never basis is never maximum linearly independent numbers or independent vectors of the null space. So got it or not? So solutions of this, that is a definition of null space. So what is the null space of a linear transformation M? We are collecting x such that Mx equal to 0. So actually intuitively what we are doing here, n of M is nothing but solutions of this equation. Now we have to find the linearly independent solution. How many linearly independent solutions? Is the same as we have to find the number of elements in the basis. That is, we have to find the dimension of the null space. So for that we have to use the rank nullity theorem. Try to easily we can find the rank of the matrix. Therefore subtract from 4 because 4 is the dimension of the domain. You will get a null space dimension. Therefore the null space dimension is the number of linearly independent solutions of this homogeneous equation. Therefore this answer is 2. So they didn't ask directly, they not asking directly what is the dimension of null space. They asking differently the number of solutions number of linearly independent solutions of the homogeneous system. Same thing is that the dimension of the null space. Any doubt in this? Okay. And this problem we will discuss later. Okay. So anyway, from this condition we can say MQ equal to IDD, but we have to study some more about eigenvalues, eigenvectors. So still we didn't study what is eigenvector. So we introduced what is a eigenvalue. We can say what is the corresponding eigenvector, but we didn't study the properties of eigenvectors. Anyway, one day we will recall all the theories of eigenvectors and then diagonalizable, all other things. Okay. Now again, so this we can easily prove this. I think so. So if a power n equal to 0 for some n, then show that a equal to 0. But they given that d can be written as p times a into a inverse. Okay. So how to prove this one? So maybe we need some theorem. Okay. So it is given that d equal to p a p inverse. Now raise the power d, sorry, power n both the side. Therefore, if you raise the power, actually what you will get, just the power come the middle term. Why? Because if you multiply 2 times, PAP inverse, PAP inverse. Suppose I am multiplying 2 times. So PAP inverse is identity, therefore A square. So we get P A square P inverse. If you take n times, the power comes to only the middle of the matrix A. Now given that A power n is 0, therefore 0 times any matrix is 0. Now we get D power n equal to 0. Now what is D? Actually it is given that is a diagonal matrix. So D is a diagonal matrix. So if a diagonal matrix, the power is, so if you take the product of two diagonal matrix, again is a diagonal matrix. Okay, suppose D equal to, suppose you take some lambda 1, lambda 2, etc., some lambda, only the diagonal elements are non-zero, all others are 0. Okay. Now what is D square? Again we get lambda square, this square is lambda D square. So D power n is nothing but again lambda 1 power n, lambda 2 power n, etc., lambda n power lambda power n. All others are 0. Now we prove that this lambda d power n equal to 0. That means what? This lambda power n equal to 0. That means lambda 1 should be 0. And this should be 0. Lambda 2 should be 0. So everything is 0. Okay. Now the d should be 0. Finally, if d power n equal to 0, then we can say that d should be 0. Okay. Now d equal to 0. Now substitute in the given equation. What they given? D equal to p a p inverse. Now therefore we get 0 equal to p a p inverse. Now multiply p inverse. Take this p inverse this side. 0 times p inverse is 0. Therefore 0 equal to p times a. Since p is invertible, it is given that p is invertible. Therefore we can multiply by inverse. Now multiply p inverse both the side. Again this p into p inverse 0. Therefore 0 times a. Therefore 0 equal to a. We prove that a equal to 0. So the main thing is, if D is a diagonal matrix and then D power n equal to 0, then from this we can say D should be 0. Because the diagonal element, D contains only the diagonal element, so the D power n is nothing but we have to raise the power n to the only on the diagonal elements. And this is equal to 0, therefore each diagonal element should be 0. Therefore lambda 1 power n equal to 0, lambda 2 power n equal to 0. Everything is a real number. So lambda 1 power n equal to 0, this implies that lambda 1 should be 0. If lambda 2 power n equal to 0, then implies that lambda 2 should be 0. Therefore, all elements are 0, that is nothing but d should be 0. So if d is 0, we can easily prove that a equal to 0. So similarly, we can prove this. These are all we have to prove. Okay. If these are linearly independent set and t is 1, 1, then this should be linearly independent set. Maybe I will prove that one. So these are all theory part, purely theory. But if you use the definition, you can easily write the proof. So suppose now I solve the second part of the second problem. That is the idea. You can easily prove other things. So what they given? They given that V1, V2, etc. Vk are linearly independent, and it is given that t is 1, 1. Okay, keep in mind t is 1, 1. Therefore, t is 1, 1 means what? Now null space contains only 0. Now what we got to prove? That t of v1, t v2, etc. t vk is linearly independent set. It's simple. Then how to prove this one? Suppose we take the linear combination of this t v1, t v2. Suppose some alpha 1 t of v1 plus alpha 2 t of v2 plus etc. plus alpha k of t of vk equal to 0. Suppose if we take the vector equation, what we have to prove? We have to prove that alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha k are 0. Now since t is a linear transformation, therefore you can take this scalar inside the t. Therefore t of alpha 1 v1 plus again you can take this alpha 2 inside, therefore we get t of alpha 2 v2 because t is linear, etc. plus t of, you can take alpha k inside, we get alpha k vk equal to 0. Now again this is a sum. Again we can apply the linear transformation, therefore t of alpha 1 v1 plus alpha 2 v2 plus etc. plus alpha k vk equal to 0, but any linear transformation take 0 goes to 0. Therefore, this is equal to t of 0 because 0 goes to 0. Now what you will get? T of something equal to t of 0, and given that t is 1, 1. So t is 1, 1. Another definition is t of x equal to t of y implies x equal to y. That is the definition for 1, 1. Now this equal to t of something equal to t of something. Therefore, the something equal to something. Therefore, what is the something here? The left hand side alpha 1 v1 plus alpha 2 v2 plus etc. plus alpha k vk. Even you can say since t is 1, 1, therefore the null space contains only 0. So only 0 elements maps to 0. But here we proved that some alpha 1 v1, alpha 2 v2, etc. alpha n vn maps to 0. Therefore this element should be 0. Okay. Since this element maps to 0 and given that t is 1, 1, that means the kernel contains only 0. That means only the 0 elements maps to 0, not other elements. But this element maps to 0. That means what? This element should be 0. That is alpha 1 v1 plus alpha 2 v2 plus etc. plus alpha k vk must be 0 because of t is 1, 1. Only 0 maps to 0. But this element maps to 0. Therefore, this element should be 0. Now use the assumption that v1, v2, vk is linearly independent. And then here we have a vector equation. Therefore, this alpha 1 equal to 0, alpha 2 equal to 0, etc. alpha k, everything 0. Now we start with the vector equation. Now we prove that this alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha k's are 0. Therefore, this is a linearly independent set. We prove this. Now similarly, we prove the last one. Suppose this is a basis, then and bijective, then we prove that the image is also bijective, image also basis. So basis means what we have to prove is a minimum generating set and then linearly independent set. So using the second part, instead of k we have n. Okay, here also k is not it. Okay, now okay, basis means what is linearly independent set and then spanning set. And we have to prove a linearly independent set and a spanning set. So linearly independent we already proved by second part. Only thing we have to prove that is span the entire space of W. So using the condition here bijective. So bijective means onto. So therefore we can easily prove that this is a basis. So maybe I will quickly I will give the idea. So we got to use the second because we prove that linearly independent states takes linearly independent state when it will happen t is 1 1. Okay. Now it is the third problem. They given that t is bijective. So bijective means both 1 1 and R2. So therefore, the proving this is a basis, it is enough to prove that this is a spanning set because linearly independent is trivial from the second part. So only thing we have to prove that this is a spanning set. So this meant spans the entire space W. So it is t is a function from V to W. It is given. Now what we got to prove? This set span W. So that means what, if we take any element W in W can be written as linear combination of this T of V1, T of V2, etc. This we have to prove. So that is, if we take some small w in capital W, and it is given that is bijective, therefore any element here there is a pre-image here. Therefore there is some small v in capital V such that this T of V equal to W. Okay, but W small v in V, but we have a basis V1, V2, etc. V, and therefore this V, this small v can be written as linear combination of some alpha I Vi. Now apply t both side, therefore implies T of V. Since t is linear, therefore directly I can write summation of alpha I scalar outside, therefore T of Va. But this T of V, W, V is nothing but W, therefore W can be written as linear combination of this T of Va. Therefore it's a spanning set. Already we proved as a linearly independent set, therefore it's a basis. Now look at the first one also. First one is nothing but now we prove the first one. That is the first one. It spans V and T is onto, then it spans V. If combining first and second, that is the third one. Okay. So maybe similarly you try to prove this one. This is okay. What the problem says: suppose T is a function from R6 to W be the linear transmission such that S equal to T of E2, T of E4, T of E3 spans the space W. Then which of the following must be true? S is a basis of W, or T of X not equal to W, and this. Okay. So just to try to think about this. So use the definition. So this is given that this is a very important point. This spans V. So this spans W. Okay. Anyway, I can stop now.